I'm just going to share my screen now, so hopefully this works. And can everyone see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So this is Makerspaces in Public Libraries with Liz Anderson and Eric Ball from the Stratford Public Library. My name is Mandy Forbes, and I'm a student library assistant at the FIMS Graduate Library. So to start, we'd like to just do a land acknowledgement. We're going to take turns just because we're in different spaces. So we've got the Stratford Public Library, and then we've got Western. Did you want to go first, Liz?
Sure, yeah, I can do the one for here. As we gather, we acknowledge that we are meeting on the original land inhabited by Indigenous peoples from the beginning. As settlers, we are grateful for the opportunity to meet here, and we thank all the generations of people who have taken care of this land since time immemorial. In particular, we acknowledge that the land on which we gather is the traditional territory of the Haudenosaunee peoples. This territory is covered by the Upper Canada Treaties. We recognize and deeply appreciate their historic connection to this place. We also recognize the contributions of Métis, Inuit, and other Indigenous peoples have made, both in shaping and strengthening this community in particular, and our province and country as a whole. As settlers, this recognition of the contributions and historic importance of Indigenous peoples must also be clearly and overtly connected to our collective commitment to make the promise and the challenge of truth and reconciliation real in our communities.
Okay, thank you so much. And so we acknowledge that Western University is located on the traditional lands of the Anishinaabe, Haudenosaunee, Lenape, and Tronton nations, on lands connected with the London Township and Sombra Treaties of 1796 and the Dish with One Spoon Covenant Wampum. With this, we respect the longstanding relationships that Indigenous nations have to this land, as they are the original caretakers. We acknowledge historical and ongoing injustices that Indigenous peoples, First Nations, Métis, and Inuit endure in Canada, and we accept responsibility as a public institution to contribute toward revealing and correcting miseducation, as well as renewing respectful relationships with Indigenous communities through our teaching, research, and community service. Okay, so I'm gonna kind of talk through what we're gonna do today, just so everyone knows what's going on. So we're gonna start with introductions. So we'll get Liz and Eric to tell us a bit about themselves and their roles. They're then gonna show us some cool stuff that they have going on in their makerspace and show us around some of the equipment. We'll then do a discussion. So I've got some questions for them that are hopefully of interest to you all as well. And then we will do a little bit of a tour of our makerspace here and let you know some of the things we're working on. And then we will definitely save some time for questions at the end. So if everyone wants to have those ready, that would be great. And once again, we'll be recording this workshop. Just noticed a typo, but that's okay. For those who weren't able to attend today. So I'm going to stop sharing and we will get started. There we go. Okay, so we'll start with, did you want to start, Eric, and just tell me a bit about yourself and your role?
Yeah, so I guess I kind of come to Makerspace from a slightly different world than librarians. I started out here as a volunteer, and prior to that, I was working at the Stratford Festival in the prop department as a prop builder, doing costume or armor, welding, construction, mold making, painting, that whole gamut. And then we started into 3D printing, and I somehow magically appeared here, and it just happened. And I'm still hanging out.
And we're so grateful.
Yeah, it's awesome.
It's so great.
I think my officially I'm the Makerspace assistant. So I wind up covering our open lab periods, doing maintenance on 3D printers, running programs, and just general maintenance and hanging out in this space. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a Good description.
Mhm.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
and I'm Liz. I'm the marketing and Makerspace librarian. So I'm currently also a student at FIMS. I'm getting my degree. I should be done by the end of next summer. And I am working here. I've been in this position since March of this year. So it's still fairly new for me. And actually, half of my job is marketing. So my role in the Makerspace is somewhat less than Eric's. And the types of programming that I like to focus on at the moment are sort of making the Makerspace approachable for people who are not familiar with these types of technologies. So putting forward a project that people want to make and aren't afraid to sort of jump into. And then from there, I like to, pass them on to the open labs, which I also sometimes run, where they can take those skills that they learned and sort of take them up a notch or explore them in a different direction or in a new way.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Thank you. So I don't know if you guys want to show us a few things, if you have some equipment or want to do a little tour or however you want to do it.
Yeah,
We
that
can run
sounds good.
around and yeah, do you want to take the camera? I'll do the
Yeah, I'll take the iPad.
spotlight. All right, here we are. So take us over to the 3D printer first. Yeah. This is our big mega Cubicon 3D printer. It's not a huge build area, but it's kind of like, it's the industrial model 3D printer that's pretty darn user friendly for as many people as you can pass to it. We went with something like this because we needed something that every librarian and every Makerspace person, even our volunteers that came into this space, could operate and would be successful. Oh yeah, how's that?
This is what we're making.
Oh, cute.
So there's one of those printing right now because a patron had it and we're like, oh, this is so amazing. I'm doing another one. And it all prints out in one piece, which is just kind of awesome. Well, yeah, do a 3D print tour.
Yeah.
So some of these things are just examples. Flexis are super, super popular in our land. People love printing flexis. We've been doing some giant Lego people. And a few of the giant Lego people have been designed by volunteers or people in the space. And this is a fully 3D printed radio controlled car with motors and servos inside to make it operate. And the tires are even printed and they're soft rubber. And it's fully functional with bearings and the whole works in it. Another super fun. Whoa. This came off my printer at home, but it's just a fun one to show the examples of what a really big one piece minus this crest can be done on a larger scale 3D printer. What else do we have?
Show them the hand planter. So
the hand planter.
Yeah, this was one of my projects. We did 3D printed succulent planters, which was extremely popular. And so somebody decided, yeah, there's another one in the back there, that they wanted to do this cool / kind of creepy hand to hold their plant.
So we had little glass jars that went inside and then the plant, or no, it was just the planter. Yes. Yeah. What else is here?
I noticed on your website you had an option to like send in a print like a print file.
We do have that option on the website. Yeah. I don't think people are really taking advantage of it.
I got a couple a month. It's not so well. Typically, when people come in, we have a form that we fill out, and it's got all the pertinent information about the print, and then it goes into our print queue, and we just do them in order as they come in. Because of COVID, we decided to launch an online 3D printing submission form, which is a little bit more complicated because most people that come in are first-time printers. So they have to go through the process of learning how to slice up the file and then submit it to us. And we have an instructional video on how to do that, and it's laid out very clearly, but the first-time users definitely need to come into the space and work with us to make it happen. Otherwise, they're just dropping off a file and saying, print this for me. So the educational aspect goes like way down. Unfortunate. But it just works like a regular web form, and then there's a list of questions, and then they submit it, submit the STL file, and it comes to the email, and we put it in the queue the same way. I think I had one a couple weeks ago and a couple weeks before that, but
Okay.
it's slow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you want to show them the other printer?
Oh yeah. Yeah, zip over to the other printer. So on the other end of the spectrum, I brought this printer in because I had a spare at home. But it's a hobby-based printer which comes like a mechano kit. You build it, you put it together, you tune it, you do the programming. There's a lot more maintenance on it, but the cool thing is it's like $300 and you can understand how 3D printing works. It's a really good machine for somebody who's into tinkering, and but it's a really difficult thing to have in a space where multiple people are using it, and you don't have the time to do the maintenance.
Yeah. And the big Cubicon over there, that's the one that I usually use as a beginner, and it will auto level. The other machine does not have that function, and so it's just a little bit more complex to get a good print out
Like
of.
there's actually turn screws on, like right on the bed right here, and you have to physically adjust it until it comes into height, the right level. On the Cubicon, it does that all automatically, and there's these servo motors that move it for you, which is its like awesome feature.
Yeah.
But I love having this one in the space because we can do silly things with it and not worry about clogging nozzles and breaking it, and just kind of yeah. What else do we take? The
Vinyl cutter, I would say, is like
cutter.
the next most popular thing. So this is, we've got the Silhouette Cameo 4. We have a few of them because we do also have a program where we loan them out. And the types of things that you can do with that are the heat transfer vinyl. Got some cool holographic heat transfer there.
We do masks. We do socks. We make our own custom t-shirts for every program that we run, because what's better than having a program that has a t-shirt with it? We also did some tote bags, which were kind of cool. And to back up the heat transfer, we have actually right behind Liz, we've got a heat press. And this has been a bit of a game changer for us as well, just because we're doing t-shirts and stuff. And I think it was donated by one of our volunteers who was volunteering in the space, and she said, I went to another library and they had one of these, and I think you guys should too. So woohoo, that was lovely.
That's awesome.
But it can also do regular vinyl. So we've done like hour signs for the doors. We've made some floor distancing logos. We've made bumper stickers. We did a program with our sloths jar. And if you get super fancy, you can do 3 color prints, or as many colors as you can wrap your head
Tolerate.
around doing without, yeah, as many as you can tolerate. I think I'm gonna do a t-shirt that says as many as you can tolerate.
Perfect.
Yes, done. And then I think, Liz, you're doing a pop-up card program with that?
Yeah, we're
tonight?
doing pop-up cards tonight and then again in
Woohoo.
December. And so it's sort of themed around the holidays,
I think
but people are welcome to do whatever they'd like.
Liz's cards are way fancier than these ones, I think.
Those ones are cool though.
Yeah.
And
these are-
then this is the one that I came up with. Yeah.
Boom, boom, boom.
Oh, Merry Christmas.
Nice.
Yeah.
I like how complicated and simple that one is because it's not going to break when somebody sticks their finger in it.
Yes.
Awesome. So that's totally cool.
Yeah, so that's the vinyl cutter. Did you want to talk about the digital transfer station?
Yeah, so we have a digital design, a digital conversion station. We transfer VHS to digital. We used to transfer to DVD, but we've decided that it's too problematic and annoying, and DVDs are pretty much defunct. So we just transfer straight to digital. We also have, and we use it, it's called an Elgato video capture. It's a dongle. So it's this guy right here. It just plugs into a USB port, and then it's got VGA and SVGA. Sorry, not VGA. It's called S video and video composite. Ha! Sorry.
And then you have a plethora of home recording equipment that you can use to play people's tapes and digitize from there as well.
Yeah, we have a collection of camcorders, so legacy camcorders that I've either found in an electronics dumpster or had somebody donate or picked up at Goodwill, so that we can transfer pretty much every type of home recording videotape that we have, which is super awesome because they're really degrading. We even got this VHS-C adapter that goes into that somebody donated that goes into the VHS tape. The cool thing is that a lot of people come in and after they've transferred this stuff, it doesn't become, their equipment's no longer useful to them, and they're like, would you like it? And I'm like, yes, please, thank you.
And the slide scanner, we had to buy multiple slide scanners because we loan those out as well. So we have one for the space, then we have some to borrow the Makerspace program, and people love it. It gets used all the time.
So we can scan slides and photo negatives, and it just turns up like a little slide viewer, and it shows up on the screen, hit scan, and it puts it on an SD card. Yeah, we had a week, and there were like, we had people coming into the space and they were like fighting over using it. So we added several. We also have USB floppy disk in case anybody needs to convert floppies. And I also have a converter that converts, you can plug in hard drives, like an actual hard drive from a computer, SATA or IDE, and it basically turns it into a USB stick. And then you can go in and do file recovery. Doesn't get used very much, but we have the power.
Yes, I have plans for it. I have a few old laptops with passwords I can't remember that may or may not boot. I don't know.
May or may not boot. So you can take the hard drive directly out, plug it in, and do some file recovery, which is pretty cool. And I think this was only like $40. So it's a nice little addition to the world.
Digital design.
Digital design. Yeah, so both computers in here we have one Mac and one PC, just so everybody has the option and they can explore both. We have the full Adobe Creative Cloud that anybody can come in and use. As well, I like to keep open source software on the computers, so I have GIMP and Inkscape that are basically open source Photoshop and open source Illustrator. So just so that somebody's got a free option. We've added this Wacom tablet, which, did I have it on?
It's on, yeah.
Should be on. It's basically a screen in a drawing tablet, and it mimics the screen here. And I can draw on, I can go into CAD and I can adjust stuff in CAD. I can paint. It's basically an extension of the mouse. And with our maker kits, the Wacom tablet is one of the objects that we have in the maker kits. So yeah.
So you can borrow it for a week, right?
Yep, take it home for a week. And on the maker kit front too, we also have a podcasting mic with a ring light, and I think we're going to add the webcam to it. So it's a USB microphone. You can plug it into a computer. You can plug it into an iPhone. You can plug it into any device, and it's got monitor in the bottom, and it's pro quality. You could record guitars on it. You could record vocals, and they'd sound awesome. And with all the maker kits that we've been adding, so anything that you can take home, there's been a duplicate piece of equipment in the space, so that you can come into the space, you can learn it, and then when you take it home with you, it's exactly the same piece of equipment, which is like super key.
Perfect. Yeah.
Super key. Yeah, and we're just about to add a little mini. This is a DJI Osmo. It's a 4K gimbal video camera, video and still camera, which is awesome, and a self-stabilized smartphone gimbal selfie stick. So you put your smartphone on here and it'll self-level itself with whatever, and there's an app, and they both have like face tracking features and stabilization, and it's just awesome. So those are kits you can take home and yeah, do some awesome things with. And just on the world of kits, do my plug. We were sponsored with a grant from Perth Community Futures in town, so they were able to provide staff hours and money for the equipment and programming to back up all of this awesome gear, which has been it's been amazing. It's just like, yeah, the opportunity to add it to the collection is like rocks my world. Yeah,
it's amazing. I want to continue one more thing on the tour before we get to the questions, but I don't want to take too long.
No. I could talk for hours. Stop me anytime.
Do you want to talk about Lights On?
Okay, Lights On is a community-based program that's going on in town, and there was grant money for adding interactive lighting displays. So this whole lighting display, and actually Liz has this whole lighting display, each window of the front of the library is lit up with individually addressable LEDs, and you can log into our Wi-Fi and take control of each individual window and start changing colors and patterns.
And it's along the whole front of the library.
Yeah, so 2 on the main floor, 2 on the top floor, and then along the other wall, we're adding more stuff too.
Oh, nice.
When I have time.
Yeah. Time.
Yeah.
That's very cool.
And robots as well.
Robots. We have a smattering of robots. Lego Mindstorms. I love this MIP guy. I picked these guys up at Goodwill. This is Colby, the Code and Go mouse. Sphero, the ever famous Ozobot. And another one by Inksmith, who does the 3D printer, is are these guys K8s, and they're microbit driven robots. Totally awesome. And we can get deeper into the robot world afterwards if you guys want.
Yeah. Why don't we go with some question and answer?
Yeah. Oh, and there's also a laminator and paper cutter,
Yes.
which are totally awesome to have on hand.
You guys have so much great stuff. I wish I was there and I would want to play with it all.
Oh,
Yeah.
come on in.
And I mean, we have other things too that aren't in use in the space, but we can use them in programs like sewing machines, a green screen, virtual reality headset, and what do we have? A
PS4.
4.
So
Various things like that as well.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So are we still on the spotlight or are we?
we can.
Cover down. Oh, it was there.
There we go.
I think she's got it off.
You got it
Yeah,
up? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so
Okay,
that
so I have
was a whirlwind tour.
That was great. Thank you guys so much. So I guess my first question is, how many staff work in the Makerspace? And do you have volunteers, which it sounds like you at least had one volunteer?
Yeah, so right now we have 3 staff that work regularly in this space. So myself, Eric, and then our teen services librarian, Brooke. And then we've got our manager, Krista, who oversees everything, and she does a lot of the budgets and the purchasing and sort of the direction of the space itself. And then we do have volunteers, but they were more active pre-COVID. So now we used to have volunteers come into our virtual programs just for, safety and crowd control and things like that. But as the pandemic has gone on, we've noticed that we're able to handle the programs kind of on our own as staff. So that kind of volunteering has tapered off a little bit.
I had a volunteer last night.
Yeah.
He was amazing.
And Matt too.
Oh, and Matt. Yeah. Yeah, with our lights on display, one of our awesome superstar volunteers did all the back end of the programming, and I did all the wiring. So we kind of collaborated on that. And then last night, so that's probably one of the questions coming up about COVID, but since we've started doing in-person programming again in the auditorium, I've also been offering the opportunity to do Zoom in-person hybrid. So we're running 3 or 4 people in the auditorium and the rest on Zoom. And I was able to have a volunteer help me out last night for 3D design, which was awesome. It was a super keen teen.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yay.
Nice. So we'll move on to programs, I guess, which I'm curious about how you come up with program ideas and what sort of things you've done in the past or have coming up.
Yeah, so some of the program ideas that I get, from Pinterest, or, Eric will go to the dollar store and come back with something like this. And then we can just build a program around it, teaching people how to use Silhouette Studio and the vinyl cutter. So just little things like that people can put around their houses. Or somebody donated a lot of vinyl records. So what I did was I just put together an instruction booklet or an instruction sheet and turn them into a kit. So you can make your own vinyl record bowl.
Well, that's great.
Yeah. So I think, ideas come from everywhere.
I kind of think when I come up with an idea, I want to make sure, first off, I want to make sure it's something I can get excited about. And if I can get excited about it and sell it, then I want to make sure that the person coming through the door can also get excited about it and not be bored. When I go mega program land, I get really excited. One of the first ones I did was we had a summer program that was a drop-in, and we recreated a scale model of Stratford in cardboard, and we ran streets up and down it and had the Ozobots going up and down the streets and added LED lighting and cameras and all kinds of stuff, which was all pre-COVID. I've also been doing a game night program, so making scenery for tabletop gaming, D&D, and game components. And then we've added a little bit of that collection into the library. So we have game books, we have all the D&D manuals, we have a couple DIY, they're kind of maker games, and all of the bits and pieces, or all of the rules are in the book, and all of the components you come into the Makerspace and create. So yeah, you're not forking out the thousands of dollars for gaming pieces, you're making your own, and it's a really awesome. It's within a week, I had about 5 people come in and ask for the exact same thing. And I'm like, okay, I think there's something here.
This could be
Let's
a
make this
program.
happen. This is so happening, and it's been super popular. Yeah.
Yeah. And I like to do analog programs as well. And so in that case, you know, we have Creative Bug as one of our subscriptions at the library. And so that's a good place to get lots of artistic inspiration. So I did a program called Get Unstuck, where I put together a whole bunch of just weekly activities that we could do together over Zoom to get people's creative juices flowing and get them talking and socializing during the pandemic, but within sort of a constrained time period, because I think people, you know, have kids or they have other responsibilities, so they don't want to dedicate a lot of time to their creative practice necessarily, but it created an opportunity for them to sort of carve that space out for a couple of hours every Tuesday night. So that was cool. And then
Did a lot of the same people show up like time after time, or was it different people?
That one, I asked people to come for all 5 weeks.
Okay.
Yeah, so we had the same people. And so there was a strong element of community building there as well, which I enjoyed. And I think that was particularly important because it was early in the pandemic and people were locked down. And so not having a lot of social time. So giving them the opportunity to socialize and be creative in a safe space, I think was really beneficial for the community.
That sounds really great.
Yeah.
So I guess my next question is kind of about like different groups that you see using the library. So I saw you had some programs for teens. Are there specific age groups that tend to use it more often?
Okay, so on the door it says 9+. I have a really hard time turning away kids. How old was Atlan yesterday? 3?
My nephew is visiting from BC, and he's very curious about mechanical things and electric things. And so I thought, you know, I'll make an appointment in the Makerspace and I'll bring him in and see, you know, if he's interested. And he is 3, turning 4 in December. And he had an amazing time.
Oh, we had a blast.
He's just, you know, finding things like computer processors. Eric, what's this for? What does this do? Can you plug it in? Does it have a fan? And then, you know, Eric picked up on his interest in electronics. And so he got out the snap circuits. So those are things you can snap together, and then you can press a button and the fan turns on, or an LED light comes on. There's dimmers, etc. And so he played with those.
Oh yeah. I hate to turn away anybody that's under our age, because they're going to be our next round of patrons. And but I think, like, who else did? Last week I had, or the last couple of weeks, I've had an 82-year-old who's been coming in and doing like inspirational. She takes photographs and then we've scanned them into the computer, and then we add inspirational sayings to them, and she's been having a blast.
And Joe, he is retired.
Yeah.
And he's one of our volunteers as well. And he is the first one onto new technologies. So he was telling me, when I was a library assistant and I was, you know, working in here just to cover shifts, he would tell me about all of like the 3D print scanning software that he was using, so that he can scan an item to the computer and then print it using our 3D printers. So he is like on top of the latest technologies.
Yeah, I find we try and be enablers in here.
Yeah, like really, I don't think there's really one specific demographic.
No.
It's more just people want to do something with their hands. They want to learn new skills. They want to meet new people. So I don't think we could pin down a particular demographic.
No, I've had a huge run of 10 to 12-year-old girls who've come in and been like, let's do robots right now. And I'm like, yes. Awesome.
And then we do have like specific, like programming for specific demographics. So like Brooke is running something for teens specifically that'll introduce them to various technologies that we have. And we did, you know, coding, make it meetups in the summer. So that was sort of school-aged kids and coding,
8 to 12, yeah.
girls who code. So that was high school girls, getting them to, you know, try new things with coding. So we do sometimes run programs for specific demographics, but
I really try as hard as I can to make it intergenerational, because we hit something like 3D design and the kids in the room pick it up in minutes. Then they just like, they go super far and I'm still trying to explain it. And then all of those kids, there are a couple of those kids start showing the other ones that are there, oh, you just do this, or if you change it this way, and they start teaching. And it's just, so that's how I got my volunteer last night. He was in my first 3D design class and he was helping out everybody. I'm like, okay, you're here, come on in, let's make this happen. But like, I think in that first 3D design class I did, I had, the age range was 10 to 72. And they were, yeah, it was awesome. And it was in a male-female mix, straight across the board. It was, yeah, it was brilliant.
It feels like in Makerspaces, there is something for everybody. So
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And if there isn't, we give them something.
yes. Yeah, and I think it's more than about just making, right? It's about learning other types of skills, like how to try something and fail and then change it and try again. So there's that perseverance, there's goal setting, there's, you know, sharing your knowledge with someone else. So all of those sort of soft skills and confidence building as well comes along with this sort of maker culture.
that's great. You guys talked about this a little bit, but I was kind of curious about how things changed during COVID and kind of ways that you guys had to adapt. Things have changed here. I know we have fewer people that we can have in, and
At the very beginning, I got to do a whole bunch of really, really fun videos. I said, they're up on YouTube if you guys want to check them out. I got to do, I'm going to call it, I'd say, it was like 5-minute Mr. Dress Up style maker videos that were awesome.
Yeah, like shadow puppets and pop-up books.
Yeah,
and
some 3D printing and just a little like all over the place. They were so fun.
They were super cool.
I did them in my living room. And then once we started back into the library, I said, we need to provide something. And we started running our open labs over Zoom, and only, but making them very specific. So vinyl cutting or 3D printing. And we got a lot of people in, and you kind of got to the point where you started teaching people by the keystroke, because you'd be telling them and explaining and they'd see your screen, but then you had to realize, oh, I need to tell them I'm pressing the left button and holding, or I'm pressing the left button, holding, dragging, and making a box around something. And it was a totally different vocabulary.
did you guys lend out equipment during that time, or was the library closed? Like at the...
Eventually.
Yeah, it was closed for a while, and then we were open for curbside service.
Yeah.
And we did a lot of take and make kits.
Yeah.
So people could come and pick that up and do activities at home, or log onto Zoom and use the kits while, you know, as a group on Zoom. We didn't so much lend, because
We didn't have the kits ready to lend at the time.
I don't think we were lending the kits during curbside because they couldn't be returned in the Dropbox.
Yeah.
And there wasn't a way
Yeah,
there wasn't a way to place them on hold.
No, it was very, but
The way they're cataloged, it made it complex for people to place their own holds on the maker kits from home. So they didn't really circulate during curbside pickup.
That makes sense.
But when you came into a vinyl printing lab, we got you your sheet of cut vinyl and your transfer tape and all the stuff that you had worked on in that time, put it into a bag and then left it to be picked up. Your 3D prints went into the queue the same way, and you came to curbside and you picked up your 3D print. So it was cool. It was a lot of work, and I'm really glad that we have people in the building again.
Yeah.
I do miss, oh yeah, this was my favorite. I got to hold up all the colors of vinyl and be like, do you want an orange one or a blue one? And I missed that. Yeah. We have offered in, if anybody does request it, that we will do a virtual appointment for them.
Okay.
Yeah.
A couple more questions. This has been
Yeah,
great.
go ahead.
So I was just wondering about, you guys talked a little bit about it, but just how things are funded, how you get new things for the space.
So we definitely have a regular operations budget. The initial space setup had its own specific capital plan and fundraising and that type of thing, but we basically run like any other department in the library. We have our collections budget and we decide on a use case what's the most useful thing that we can hit the most amount of people with.
Yeah, it's not super formal just because we're kind of a small team. And so oftentimes it's like, oh, I'm going to share this really cool gadget on Slack. What do you guys think? Should we get this for the Makerspace? And so I think it's like that kind of collaborative dreaming.
Yeah, or I think the K8 robots came with like, we've got 2 of this robot and we've got 3 of this robot, and I'm like, can you run us a coding program? And I said, let's get enough robots that we can actually run a coding program and have more than 4 people or 6 people. Let's get 8 robots and, you know, actually be able to accomplish something. Yeah. So yeah, and again, that was a kind of a plan or measuring what was working and what people were asking for, make it happen.
Yeah. And then we've been really lucky the past few years. We've had a partnership with Perth Community Futures Development Corporation. And so they help small businesses and entrepreneurs start up. They give business supports to local people in the community. And so they've funded our Borrow the Makerspace program, where people can take out the vinyl cutter or a heat press or a 3D design mouse. All of those things that we have that they can take was paid for through this grant. They're paying for a lot of Eric's hours right now. And so we get extra Eric, which is awesome. And we're also running for them specific programs for business supports in the community. So that's where this money, a lot of this money is going to support those initiatives for small businesses. So the graphic design series that we did was targeted towards entrepreneurs and small business owners, 3D design as well.
And another design series coming up in January that's not planned, but almost, but scheduled.
They really like the design series.
Yeah.
And then sometimes we feature some of the things that businesses have made on our social media. So people can see, you know, this is the business, you know, this is a person that you know from your communities running a business. This is what they made in the Makerspace with the support of the library and Perth Community Futures.
And again, I'm trying, all the programming that goes with that is trying to back up what we have in the space and what we can provide. So the graphic design, the 3D design is all, so you can come in and you can use the tools afterwards. And these are giving you that little extra bit of awesome work. I think we're going to do a couple vinyls and a few more on the directed in that world.
Very cool. So if it's okay, I'm going to show you guys around our
Yeah,
space a
please
little
do.
bit.
Yes.
What's in your cupboard? What's in your
So I
cupboard?
don't know if Marnie, are you able to spotlight? Will it show me up big? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So this is our makerspace here at the FIMS Grad Library. It's just me, so I can't really move the camera around. So I'll just kind of point and show you guys some of the things that we have that if you want to come in here and book the space, you can, and you can use any of this stuff. So first off, here's our little MakerBot Replicator Mini. So that's our 3D printer. I'm kind of working with designing my own stuff. I didn't design this, but there's one little thing we printed. So that is typically pretty popular. We have lots of different filament colors, and we have limits on the size that you can do, but there's all sorts of things that you can go on the Thingiverse, pick out a file, and just start printing. And we can also walk you through it if you ever need to. We have Cricut instead of the Silhouette. So that's our vinyl cutter and cuts paper. We'll probably be using that. We do a holiday event, so we're going to be also making some cards and ornaments and that sort of thing. So we'll have that out in the library and you can see how it works. We have the Makey, which is pretty fun.
Yay, Makey.
Yeah, this was a very simple little controller I made that we were had up and we were playing
Nice.
Mario on it.
Excellent.
Yeah, so that was pretty fun. We have little bits, which are a bit like your the snap circuits. So you're just attaching them with magnets. And this one has a little dimmer on it.
Do you find your little bits frustrating?
So far I was playing around with them last week and it was working pretty good. I didn't do anything too complex, but I had a little thing that spinned around and an LED light. But
We find ours get dirty contacts and worn out and sometimes frustrating.
They don't always do what they should be doing.
we haven't found that yet. This is a very fun thing that with the Arduino that another person who works in the FIMS Graduate Library named Patricia made. So this is our, oh, I have to reset it. Hold on. Are you going to work for me? No. Okay, I'll see if I can get this working. Maybe not. Anyways, what's supposed to happen? Oh, there we go.
Oh, there it goes.
So you put your library card there and it'll just say, thanks, how can I help you today? Which was really fun. So we've got a little Makerspace display set up with a bunch of different things. We noticed an interest in textiles, and that's kind of where my background is. I like doing a lot of embroidery. So we've added kind of a textile station as well. So we've got crochet hooks and knitting stuff and embroidery. And then we also have all the craft supplies you could want and a lot of recycled materials, because I'm sure you guys have found too with Makerspace, it's nice to be able to repurpose stuff whenever you can. And
Absolutely.
yeah, buy less and reuse more, which is great. And we do have, as I mentioned, the holiday event coming up. So if you've been a little bit nervous to try out some of this stuff or to come in here, that'll be a good time to kind of try it out, and we'll have a bunch of different things set up that you can take a look at. And so I think that is about it. Oh, we also have some the Picasso tiles and a bunch of Tinker toys and Lego and all that sort of thing as well.
Oh, fantastic.
Okay, and that gives us a good amount of time for questions. So if anybody wants to just raise their hand, use the raise hand function, or